Something that I learned about recently is that whenever you engage in behaviors over and over again, it can cause changes in the brain. That's referred to as neuroplasticity, which is pretty much just changing the way the neurons in your brain communicate with each other, and it's through your behaviors. So pretty much anytime you learn a new skill, it's making your brain not necessarily bigger, but more dense. And it makes you more capable of doing things. Like, for example, if you learn how to juggle, which I'm going to talk about in a little bit, doing this, whenever you first start, you like really suck at it. And then you would eventually get a lot better at it to where you can talk while you're doing it and just keep doing it without dropping it like I just did. But whenever you do that, at first you suck at it, just like any other skill. And then you eventually become better at it, and it's because your brain has made new gray matter that allows those neurons to process quicker, telling you how to do it pretty much. That's how I understand it. And the reason I'm using juggling as an example is because there's actually a study where they brought in people who don't know how to juggle, and they did an MRI brain scan on them, and then taught them how to juggle afterwards. Whenever they taught them how, they sent them home, told them to practice for like 3 months, and then brought them back later. And whenever they came back, they did another MRI scan, and they found that there was more gray matter in the spots of the brain that are important for detecting visual motion. And gray matter in the human brain primarily functions as like the processing center for your brain, and it's where information is received, interpreted, and integrated. And I'm not trying to make this super sciencey, but I just want to make it clear why this is important and can help you a lot. So it helps with things like your senses, your sensory perception, motor functions, helps with learning, memory, your emotions, decision making, all these things. So it's really important to know that you can develop them further, because whenever you get to the point where you're just trying to learn new skills, get new experiences, it helps you in a bunch of other areas too, because you're basically improving on these things. This is how I'm thinking of it as, because this wasn't part of the study. But my idea or understanding of it is as you're getting and creating new gray matter, like for example with juggling, I know how to juggle, so obviously it's helping with my visual perception and like hand-eye coordination. So that could help with other things that involve those types of deals or those types of skills. Learning a new skill is actually more important than changing the structure of your brain than actually continuing to train on something that you already know. Juggling was just a good example for them to do the study on because it's complex. And for people who are worried, like one of my biggest fears, since I was young, I've always thought like having dementia or some kind of memory loss type of thing would be awful. Like it's like a huge fear of mine. Like I cannot imagine waking up and just having basically no idea who I am and people around me are, what did I do. I'd be like miserable. Even though you don't know what's happening, or I'm assuming they don't know what's happening. Like imagine they do, but they can't express it. But even though they don't know what's happening, that's like the scary part to me, is that I'd be just a hindrance to everybody. And then I also am just not continuing to live my life. So what scientists believe is that the brain's kind of like a use it or lose it type of thing. So whenever you're learning new skills, you're using your brain more. So it's making it have to keep developing and keep making more, and basically like a muscle, which I mean, I guess in that sense it could be, I don't know, but like it's any other skill. The less you use the skill, you're gonna gradually lose some of it, right? And if you keep doing it, it'll just get sharper and better, and you'll be better at it. So whenever you continue to do these things and you're making these new, or the new gray matter for the new pathways, you're just constantly changing the structure of your brain and just basically becoming a better human. Like it lasts a lot longer, and your brain lasts a lot longer, and I'm gonna get into that more later on in the video, but it's just a really cool idea to think about. But whenever they were talking about the use it or lose it thing for the brain, it means things as simple as like playing solitaire or like going to run every now, or even just walking. Like even those simple things is making you, especially in a place you've never been to before, I'm sure it probably enhances it even more. But doing that, it's again, use it or lose it. So you're at least using it in some way. And as people get older, they tend to stop being as active or stop finding new hobbies, things like that. So it's a gradual decline of people's cognitive functions, and they're just slowly just losing their brain. So there was another study done where they scanned the brain of people who practice meditation for 30 to 40 minutes a day. And then they also scanned the brain of people who just never meditate. They found that the meditators had certain areas in the brain with more gray matter, and those areas were the key parts for memory and decision making. And another cool thing about it is that they realized the people who do meditate, or people who don't meditate, their cortex shrinks as they get older, or people in general really, your cortex, like a part of your brain, shrinks as you get older. And that's a big reason why as we get older and you see like the old people around you, maybe like your grandma or grandpa, as we age, we can't really figure things out as easily, or we just can't remember things, where we even left something. So it's you're your cortex is shrinking as you age. And they found that the meditators actually hold on to a lot more of it. They compared a person who's 50 years old and meditated regularly as the years went by, their cortex was the same size as somebody who's like 25 years old. And that suggests that meditation slows down the natural age-related stuff to our brain's decline as we get older. I think that's so cool too. Like, as you're just doing this one thing, like a small part of your life, it's a small little daily habit, and it goes that far into the future. Like somebody who's 50 has the same brain functionality as me. Like, I would much rather be that person. The person's like, oh man, where's my keys at? I mean, shit, you might be that guy. You might be like in your 20s and still wondering where your keys are. But that'll just get worse as you get older, right? So I'd much rather be in my 50s or whatever and fully understand and be able to grasp things just as easily as I can now, and also just not forget where the fuck my wallet's at, you know? So I think that's cool. And that was a really interesting study. It made me want to get back into meditating a lot more, and that's a big reason why I started to get back into it. So some of the other parts about the meditation study was that not only does it keep or at least they think it keeps the cortex from shrinking, but it also shows that the hippocampus gets bigger. And what that does is it's an important part of the brain for emotional regulation and learning and memory. So it can help you learn and remember things easier, while also help you keep your emotions under control and just be a lot more stable and have better mental health, which is honestly the biggest benefit that I've noticed, because I've noticed all of those things whenever I was actively practicing it, especially the learning part and memory, because you're just a lot more present. And I just think it's a really important habit to have, because like all these things that I learned from the study were so cool to me. And then on top of the skill development part, it's got me introducing things to my workout routine, where I'll just do like the juggling thing. I started doing that again randomly, or kind of like the basketball workouts you see where they'll dribble and they'll be dribbling and then drop a tennis ball and they'll still dribble. It's to get your hands to work in, I guess, opposites, whatever you want to call that. But it also helps with perspective taking and empathy and compassion with other people. So it helps you understand others better, and it decreases the gray matter in your amygdala, which is your fight or flight response. So it makes you more calm in stressful situations, and it just lowers your stress in general. And that's why they think that it lowers your amygdala, or decreases the size of your amygdala, because your cortisol levels are generally lower. And that's what the stress levels from that is what's making you get in that fight or flight. So there's a lot of benefits towards learning new skills and meditating. That's basically what I took away from this. So I always preach trying to try new things and getting more experience, try to develop as much as possible. So these are some good reasons to get behind that. And I'll put some studies in the description if you're interested in looking at and like fact checking me or whatever. But I thought that was really interesting. Figured I'd share it. So got any value from this video? Appreciate you, subscribe. Besides that, see you in the next one.